These are 5 things that I strongly encourage you to do at least 12 months before you retire. And as a financial advisor, I know if you do these, you'll be really grateful that you did. Let's go for a walk and talk about the first one. And that is, I want you to test drive your retirement expenses before you retire. It's one thing to say, we're currently living on $7,000 a month, and we're going to take that back to $5,000 a month. It's a very, just as an example, it's a very different thing to actually live those expenses. And you want to get a sense of, does this feel sacrificial? Does it feel comfortable? How satisfied are you on that budget? Because if you're not satisfied on the budget, the time to think about that is before you retire, not after you retire, right? Most of us have been working 20, 30, 40 years or more, and we've worked really hard in order to build the retirement that we want. And if you get there and you find out, gee, this feels too sacrificial, you still have time, if you're 12 months out, if you're 6 months out, even if you're 3 months out, to say, okay, we're going to make some tweaks, and we're going to make this before we do any irrevocable changes. So that's the first one. The second one is, I want you to think about the risk that you're taking in your investment portfolios. Because having been a financial advisor for over 20 years, one of the biggest learnings that I've taken away is we all feel very differently about risk once we've retired. Once we're no longer putting new money into our account and we're taking money out. So I want to put that on your radar screen. A lot of people will say, well, I've always been, just as an example, 100% stocks, or I've always been 70% stocks. And that's never worried me. That might be true while you're working, but it's going to feel different in retirement. So I want you to think about that. And I want you to consider maybe dialing back some on the risk. This is not financial advice. I don't know who you are. I don't know your situation. But I'd rather see you take a little less risk and later say, I'm comfortable with this. Maybe I ratchet it up a little bit. But I'd rather see that than go into retirement with too much risk and have the market go through a 10, 20, 30% or more correction and have you find out, gee, this is really painful. So that's the second one. The third one, and admittedly I'm biased here, but if you're ever going to see a financial advisor 12 months before you retire is really, in my opinion, almost a necessity. There's a lot of rules of thumb that we can use. We can use some guidelines. We can see some results of some studies and get a sense for, are we saving enough? Are we on track to be able to retire at the age that we want? But when it really comes down to, okay, now it's time to retire, now I'm getting close, you want to have as much clarity as possible. We'd all love to have certainty, but unfortunately, that's not how life works. But a good financial advisor can give you a lot of clarity on your situation. And I want you to go into retirement with as much clarity as possible. I also want you to, if you do decide to see a financial advisor, work with somebody that's a fiduciary for you, that's putting your interests ahead of their own. I think that's critical. And so I really encourage you to at least now, if you haven't worked with a financial advisor in the past, to consider doing it now. They can help you with your asset allocation, which gets to that risk. What percent of your portfolios, your investments are in stocks, what percent are in bonds. They can help you with that. They're going to know your situation. I don't know your situation, so I can't share any thoughts on what's right for you. They're also going to help you organize your investments. Maybe you have 3 or 4 different IRAs. Maybe you have a couple 401ks from previous employers, and they can help you make the decision. Does it make sense to roll that into an IRA instead of keeping it in a 401k? Does it make sense if you've got 3 or 4 IRAs? Does it make sense to consolidate those, right? One of the guiding rules for investment success, for retirement success, is, on the investment side at least, is to take on no more complexity than that which is needed to achieve your goal. So a financial advisor can help you with that. So enough said on that one. Okay, number 4, critically important. If you're not on Medicare here in the US when we turn 65, many of us are going to qualify for Medicare. If you're not on Medicare yet, if you're 55, you're 60, you're 63, you're 64, I really want you to think through your health care insurance, right? We all know this. We're all one, at least here in the United States, one bad health care experience away from losing what took us our lifetime to build up. So you want to have certainty on your health care. Now, for many people, when we leave our jobs, we're going to have the option to do what's called COBRA and continue with our employer's insurance for 18 months. And you want to be careful because one of the most common ways for retirees to lose health care coverage is they accidentally have a gap of coverage between when COBRA might end and when Medicare picks up. You don't want that to happen. So just make sure you have as much certainty on that, as much information as possible. And for many of us, frankly, the Affordable Care Act healthcare exchanges run by our state is going to be an option that you're going to want to consider if you don't have COBRA. Even if you do have COBRA, you definitely want to look into that and just see if that's a viable option for you. Depending on your salary, what your wages are, depending on that, it can often be one of the most affordable options for you. So that's healthcare insurance. The 5th one that I think is really key to be thinking about 12 months, at least 12 months before retirement is, what's your purpose going to be? For most of us, again, we've been working a long time, and a big part of our identity, a big part of our purpose is through our work, right? We have friends at work, we share a common goal, we have that kind of team building piece. It's a big part of our routine, right? We get up at a certain time, we commute to work, we spend 8, 9, 10 hours there, we come home. It's a big part of our day. So what's going to fill that gap? So I encourage you to think about that as early as you can, 12 months at a minimum, and even sooner if you can. Okay, so that's 5, but I've got a bonus for you. And that is at least 12 months before you retire, and hopefully even sooner. I want you to invest. I want you to commit to investing in your health. It's one of those things that's so easy to put off, right? If we don't work out today, if we don't work out tomorrow, is it going to have a big impact on our overall health? No, it's not going to. But if we continue to do that, over time it is going to have a big impact on our health. So not just our physical health, but also our mental health, staying in a good state of mind, and getting with people that can help us if we have any obstacles, any challenges in the way. So those are the top 6 things that I want you to think about doing at least a year before retirement. And if you liked this video, I think you're going to like this video up here where I talk about 7 things to stop doing in your 50s and 60s as you approach retirement in order to enjoy the journey up to retirement as much as possible. 7 things to stop doing in your 50s and 60s to enjoy the journey until retirement. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.